Also, Sadia, would this be recorded?
You can go ahead.
Okay, good. Okay, so good morning, everyone. My name is Lucretia Rambalak, and I am the Advocacy and Communications Officer at ChildLinK. For those of you who may not know about ChildLinK, we are an organization dedicated to protecting children from abuse and exploitation, including physical, sexual, emotional abuse, neglect, and commercial. Our mission is to empower children, families, and communities while supporting the government to create the best environment for children to strive and reach their fullest potential. This week is especially significant as we observe Child Protection Week under the theme Keeping Every Child Safe, Committing to Robust Child Protection. It's a powerful reminder that every single one of us has a role to play in safeguarding our children's future. Today, I have with me some wonderful staff that will be discussing our topic, and I will ask each of them to introduce themselves. So go ahead, Samantha.
Good morning. My name is Samantha Hudson. I'm a project officer at ChildLinK. I have the responsibility of several regions, regions 3, 8, and 9. In those regions, we do forensic interviews, counseling, child and parent. Anybody would have engaged the service at ChildLinK, we follow up with counseling for the child, and we do parenting sessions with them also. We do community awareness, and we try to educate everybody who would listen on the importance of child protection.
Thank you. Yes, Christine?
Not hearing.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Christine Constantine Cummins. I'm on board with the Orchid Foundation, who is a partner with ChildLinK, and I'm currently pursuing my master's in psychology, tailored towards working with family, young children, and young people.
Okay, thank you, Christine. All right, so once again, thank you for being here. I hope we have a fruitful discussion together. As I mentioned earlier, this week we are observing Child Protection Week under the theme Keeping Every Child Safe, Committing to Robust Child Protection. So to kick things off, I would first like to jump into a question and ask, when we talk about keeping every child safe, what does that phrase mean to you? Anyone can go ahead. Samantha, would you like to take this one?
For me, keeping every child safe means keeping children free from exploitation and abuse. It means that we protect our children at all costs, keep them free from exploitation. And when I say exploitation, I mean in any form, sexual, physical, emotional, psychological. Because, in today's society and in our line of work, we see it all. So for me, it's keeping them safe from and free from all of those things.
Yes, we want to thank you. You guys are doing a fantastic job. I've been following up and with Ashom, and we've been having a lot of good feedback about your work. What about you, Christine? What does this space take from you?
So I'd say it's very similar to Samantha. It really is about keeping every child safe, regardless of where they're from, which background they're from, which family they're from. Every child deserves to be kept safe from any form of abuse. So that is what it means to me, and also be given an opportunity to learn and grow.
Great. And we have some communities that are doing a lot of work. For example, you guys. And what would you say are some like what have you been doing within your organization to help better protect children from harm? What would be some of the activities, or what would be some of the ways you will go about in in this in this scenario, in this area?
Okay, so we meet with children in schools
Mhm.
with permission from the head teachers and their parents to
Right.
educate them on the rights of the child. And also, we keep meetings in our communities, educating parents and children, because in this day and age, it's important for parents to, I would say, revise their parenting technique, right? Because we're in a new era. So we would work with them to get in the know of how to communicate with their children and how to be with them emotionally. So that's some of the things we do
That's really
tailored to
good.
child protection.
Nice. And when you do this line of work, do you find that the children know their rights, like a lot of them?
Did, yes, yes, especially older ones, yes. They are aware of it, but to say they're able to reinforce that right, that's a different, scenario. Yeah, but
Okay,
the main thing is that they are educated on it and they're aware.
that's good. All right, Miss Samantha, what about you? What are some of the work you've been doing?
Um, well, we work collaboratively. We work with the police, child protection, the community-based organizations, Keeping children safe is a collective work. You don't work on its own independently, because if we try to do it on our own, we would get burned out and can't get it done. So we work collaboratively from time to time, or like this Friday, we'll be working with the child protection in our region here, going into schools and doing sensitization, having talks with the children, as Miss Christine would have said, we educate them on their rights. And we just don't do that with children alone. We do that with parents, teachers, anybody who would listen, actually, right? Because everybody's an advocate in one way or the other. So protecting children, and especially in the communities, it takes a collective effort. So my thing is, you see something, report it. You think you can support somebody, support them. You think a family needs some help, rather than judge them, provide whatever support you can. And then there's a lot of grassroots organizations within the communities that the outer communities can help support, whether it's I have a skill, like I'm a social worker, and if there's a small community in my small grassroots organization in my community that I can volunteer my service to, maybe have a talk, doctors, nurses, whoever in the community, because we have those people within the community and they can volunteer their service and say, hey, this is what I know, this is how you can protect, this is how the system works. Because a lot of times people sit and listen to other people, and
Mhm.
sometimes the information is wrong,
Mm.
right? Because we have that a lot of times. Sometimes when family comes to the center and they would say, oh, but I hear it this way and I hear it that way. That is why I'm not reporting, or that is why I didn't come, because of somebody told them something and they're scared. But when we have these professionals who can actually go out, the police, social workers, and say, hey, this is what you can do if something happens, education, continuous education for everybody.
Mm.
Yes, and just going back a little bit on what you said, um, you know, especially in today's world, especially with social media, we're seeing a lot of stories coming up about what's going on with children in the homes, neglect. Um, but and I feel like a lot of persons would play a blind eye to the neighbor if they're hearing a child being abused, or or an incident in the yard. They would not they would not, I mean, they don't want to get involved, which I completely understand, but I feel we've been listening, we've been hearing about all the traumas that are coming with it, especially with children. So I feel even you don't want to get involved with the neighbor, if you guys don't have a good relationship, I feel you can take it to the authority or you can take it to somebody, have a conversation, help that child out because someone has to look out for the children, you know? And I feel as neighbors, as a community, as a citizen, we all have a job to play in this. We should not be turning our eyes against these issues when we see it, you know, even on the road. You know, sometimes I walk on the road and something would happen, I would stop. I would try to help the situation. Obviously, if it's a situation I can help out, you know, or I would ask somebody to, you know, can we see what's going on in that situation? I try not to play a blind eye to these incidents because we're seeing more and more of it every day, and it's just getting, you know, it's just building. And I feel we really need to help. Help.
And
We
on
need
that,
to advocate.
and on that too, we have the not us, but the Ministry of Human Service has the 914 number where you can call and report anonymously. So you can
Yes,
say, hey, I'm seeing this child is being abused in this area. And as long as you give good directions and so they will follow up and get the child to safety, right? So
correct.
you don't even have to, because some people have that fear that if I say something, oh, the neighbors are going to curse me out or
Exactly.
whatever.
Yes,
But they have 914 that they can call and make a report, and they don't even have to give their names as long as they can give them directions. They say, hey, this is what's happening here, and they would pass that information to the police and the other relevant authorities to help that child. So
exactly.
that's one major way that they can help.
Yes, and I completely agree. Okay, so let's more talk about parents. What can parents and caregivers help to ensure a child is safe in their daily lives? Like what advice or what can you say that, you know, would help parents along, as you were mentioning before, being educated on what you can do, but on this platform at the moment, what would you advise us that the parents can help or the caregivers to ensure these children have a safe life?
Give your child that opportunity to come and speak to you. A
Yeah.
lot of times, we don't give our children that space to say, hey, I'm listening to you, right? Speak freely. And yes, as parent, I'm a parent myself. Your child might come to you and say, Mom, I did this. And, you might get angry. And that's why you have that constant conversation with the children. Say, hey, I'm the person to come to if something is bothering you, if something is happening to you, come to me. Yes, I am human. I'm your parent. I might get angry, but I know what's best, right? And let them feel safe that they can come and talk to you. And yes, and education is the top priority there also, because if the parents don't know their rights and the rights of children, then how can they teach their children the right thing? So it's education in the long run, knowing the rights of children, knowing the rights of parents. Speak to your children, give them that space, support them, let them know, hey, you have my support, right? Teach them about stranger danger. Teach them about their right body parts, because sometimes we go out into communities and do awareness, and a lot of times the children might not know exactly what's the right name for their private parts. So somebody might violate them,
Mhm.
and they might come back and say, Mommy, where we had a case where a parenting officer had that experience where the child said, this person is touching my cookie, and the mother in turn said, hey, share, because everybody's teaching this child that private part is the cookie. Say, if you share now, the child, it took them a while before they realize, or some parents say, oh, this is your flower, and this is this. And then the time might come to you, and you might not focus on the moment saying that, oh, this child is speaking about their private part, somebody's touching them there, right? So teach them about the right name so that they know if somebody touched them there, they come and complain or say, Mommy, somebody's touching me here. Because sometimes too in counseling we discover that these children, you might ask them, why didn't you say something? They
Mhm.
didn't feel safe to say it, or they feel that it's my fault. So if you as a parent can have these conversations with them and let them know when something happens, it's not always their fault.
That's so true. Especially what you're saying about teaching them the correct names, you know, telling them from very early. no one is supposed to touch you there other than your mom or dad. You know, I am a mom as well, and I have been teaching my kids the same thing. And they're 2 and 3, they just listen, but it's a consistent something, you just keep telling them and educating them that, okay, mommy, daddy, this is what this part is called. This is because I have a boy and a girl, so it's a bit different. But I feel as a parent, if you're not doing that as yet, you could start today. You can start now. You can start talking to your kids more, especially a lot of parents think that parenting sometimes is, you know, just giving your child the basic needs
Yes.
and doing homework with them and playing with them, but also it's important to educate them on these um this important this important conversation of their private part, because we are seeing today what's going on, and with them being fearful of coming to the parent to talk to them, it's because you're not having that conversation. You need to build a bond, a safer bond than other than, mommy, I'm hungry. What are we eating today? They can come and tell you, mommy, I didn't. Somebody did this to me today, and I don't know why they did it. So they're the conversation where we need to be directing.
Yes, and sometimes too, that fear can come from the way they discipline their children.
Yes.
As parents, yes, we have to discipline, but we can be more thoughtful in the way we discipline our children, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because in that same way we discipline our children, we can teach them that, hey, somebody hitting you, it's perfectly okay because, hey, mommy and daddy hit me. And they say they're doing it for my best interest,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
So you can be a bit more thoughtful with your discipline, teach them boundaries and these kind of things. Parenting is hard. And I grew up hearing my mom and my grandparents would say, take a community to raise a child. And indeed, right? So that's why, and especially in today's society, how that whole thought process has shifted. So teach them boundaries, be thoughtful in the way they discipline them.
All right. So, Christine, you want to add anything on this bit, or we can go?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I'd like to also add, we as parents, because I'm also a mom and I was a child, growing up in my parents' home. And one thing I have noticed with when I was growing up, a lot of my friends, they weren't comfortable going to their parents, not because of how the parents would discipline them, but because of how the parents would react to the situation. Let's say somebody does something to them, they're afraid the parent is just going to go and create a scene and cause an embarrassment, right? So that's also something I think parents need to be mindful of, the way they react to certain situations, because children are growing up, they're their own person. They don't want to be embarrassed. They don't want their situation to be out in the world, right? So that is something that we also have to be mindful of.
Yes. Um, there's a saying, you're a Caribbean parent. And
Yeah.
oh my God. And they normalize that parenting behavior as it's a Caribbean thing, but it's really not parenting. It's not a safe, good parenting. So we really have to read a bit more or go to the local communities, talk to the council and ask them, how can I be a better parent? This is happening. What can I do with my child to get to help develop this area a bit better? I- I've been really looking at this whole I'm a Caribbean parent thing, and it's just trickling down to it's really not good parenting. No.
No, it's
And
not.
persons laugh a bit, they take it as a joke, but it's something really serious, because when
Yes.
that child grows up, that's what they know, and they will pass that on to their children, and it goes on and on and on. So when does it
Right.
really end?
Cycle continues.
Correct. The
Cycling.
cycle continues. Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah. So what can you say are some of the biggest challenges to child protection today? I know we've probably touched a little bit as our conversation, as we're having this conversation, but what can you pull out to say some of the biggest challenges that we face today?
I think there's so much. I'm not sure how I can say, oh, this one is the biggest one, but some of them can be like poverty, not lack of knowledge, right? Because sometimes something happened to your child and you want to go to the authorities, but you live still in the back dams and you
Mm-hmm.
have to find transportation to come out, and then the amount of time you might have to come and deal with the police and the child protection office and the up and down, and a lot of times, at least we see that in our center, that parents might say, oh, I'm not going to do this because, oh, it's stressful on me. I have to stay home from work, and that means the pay is cut for me,
Yes.
you know. So sometimes I think that's, especially in sexual abuse cases, that's one of the biggest challenge for parents, giving up. I want my child protected, yes, but then I have other children to take care of. I have other expenses, and if I stay home 3, 4 times for the week, that means I don't have money coming in there. And then, because of how sometimes the matter might go on and the back and forth between the police and the court and all of that, people say, okay, that's it. I don't want to go through any further,
Mm-hmm.
So resources, financial help for some of these families, I think is one of the biggest challenge. And then, as I said, sometimes it can be lack of knowledge. They don't know that, hey, I can report this, I'm going to get justice. And a lot of times, sometimes the conversation from somebody who don't really have the knowledge, but they just say, oh, I hear this person didn't get justice, and I hear this is what happened in a child protection. I hear this is happening in the police, so I might not get help. So why sacrifice the time? Why put a child through all of that and then nothing that's going to come out of the matter? So there's many challenges.
I agree. Yes. It's so true. So let's not say the biggest challenges. Let's just call it challenges. What about you, Christine? What about a challenge that you think that we have today?
I think one is where parents, and it falls in line with poverty, where parents feel the need to compromise, right? They find out that their child is being abused, and then they eventually compromise the payoff, and with that, it continues. It can get worse, right? So, and I think that is because a lot of people are in poverty and they feel the need, they think, they're going to be better off if they just take a payoff. So that's a sad situation, but I think that's one of our biggest challenges.
Yes.
Yes, it
Sad
is.
but true.
It's very true. But I feel that other than poverty, we also have neglect. Neglect is another one. A lot of children are facing today, neglect in the homes, sometimes when they go to school, and they're having problems at home. Sometimes the teachers don't pick up on them, and that child is left to just be by themselves, going through what they're going through all by themselves. They don't know who to turn to. So it's like we were saying earlier, it's not only a job for the authority. You can't wait for the police to get involved. You as a person get involved, especially the teachers. The teachers are there with them. They're seeing them on a daily basis. If you're seeing, John, he's looking a bit distressed today, just ask him what's going on. You know, and a lot of children don't like to speak out at schools, but I feel as a teacher, you can help the situation as well and try to see if, see what's going on with John. Because you never know, sometimes a lot of kids, they're just sitting in the classroom smiling and you don't know what is going on with them. But we've been having a lot of statistics that's showing that there is so much going on in the home due to poverty, yes, but also due to neglect. I know for a fact sometimes there there is poverty, but you can have a loving home.
Yes.
The
Yes.
parents, even a single parent, both mom and dad, you have that love at home. And obviously, with that, it shines through the child.
Mm-hmm.
But with poverty, there's also, it comes to neglect. You know, the mom or the dad, they're having their own stress and they don't have time to look at the child. And then, the child is just left there to wonder about a lot of things on their own. So I feel like neglect as well is one of a challenge that a lot of children are facing today.
Definitely.
And so let's just talk a little bit more on the faith-based leaders. What role do they play in keeping a child safe?
Okay, so I'm going to fish a little bit from how I grew up because my dad
Okay.
was a pastor for
Okay.
most of my life growing up. And he was, and my mom, very involved in the community where we did a lot of charitable work. And through that, people just felt safe to come to them, both of them, and report certain issues. They held a lot of, I should say, sessions on parenting. And also, I remember we used to do a lot of, what's the name? I can't remember. But it's more in line with community work where we did a lot of outreaches and educational stuff, not just focusing on religion. But I think faith-based leaders can also play a role in letting people know that it's not just about religion, it's about humanity,
Mm-hmm.
right? And educate people on their rights. Well, specifically, we're focusing on children and just making it a safe space, maybe put together after school practices, after school lessons, after school activities where the church or the mandir or the masjid is a safe place that they can go to and have extracurricular activities.
Yeah. Growing up, I attended some extracurriculum activities with I'm Hindu, with the mandir that I used to attend. And you learn about the culture. Also, you got to feel safe and you would have conversations with, well, back then it was my guru. So I would talk
Mm-hmm.
to my guru and she knew a lot about my personal life, as in, she would have conversations about school, and we'll have conversations about, okay, do you like to do Indian dancing, or do you like to play the tassa drums, or do you want to
Mm-hmm.
learn some Hindi? And we did some yoga, which I thought was really nice. So these
Mm-hmm.
extra little activities that you would find from from your from your religious organi your religious stand, it would be it's something really nice for kids to get involved. And especially like parents, you can also get your children involved because it's something good for the children. It's something where they can go feel relaxed. Also,
Mm-hmm.
they get to learn about their religion.
Yeah.
And I feel with religion, it helps you, as sometimes when you're going through a pretty hard time in life, you would just your turn to God and pray and ask and talk to him sometimes when you have nobody else. So religion do play a good part in a child's life. Hi, Samantha. We lost you there for a second. I was wondering if you would have returned, but I'm glad you're back.
Yes, I had to join with data.
That's okay. Well, we know how sometimes the internet could be. All right.
Mm.
So we're still talking about what role does the faith-based leaders play? Would you like to add anything to that?
I didn't hear part of the conversation, but I got the part where you say people turn to church. Sometimes when you know, there's no other way to go, they feel that turn to church, turn to God. And in that way, the church can really be helpful, you know. The church can also use that opportunity to have those uncomfortable conversations. You know, sometimes
Yes.
talking about sex in church is taboo, but we can start having those conversations in churches. We can have support the parenting groups in churches, right? As Ms. Christine would have said, parenting would have shifted from when I was small to now, right? I sometimes would tell my mom the way she parent me, I can't do that with my kid, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, why is it you
Oh,
can't do this? Right? You know, it's like this whole thing they can't come forward, this whole free speech thing. So
yes.
your church has to educate the parents, teach them new techniques, invite the persons who they think are specialized in these areas to come into the church and say, hey, once a week we're going to give you this forum with our members to have conversations. And you know, it can grow from there.
Yeah. I laughed a bit when you said you tell your mom what works for your child, what you did. I had the same issue with my mom as well. I would, I used to tell her, this is how it should be done, or, I read this and this is what they're saying. And she's like, oh, you don't have to do that. You can do this. This is what worked for us growing up, and we're still alive. I'm like,
Yeah.
no, but it's not the good thing to do. So I feel, as Christine was said, it has really shifted. And I'm really happy that we have this, so much knowledge today, and it's so accessible. Even if you don't want to talk to anyone, just go on Google. You can find everything on Google sometimes. You can or you can read a book on it. There's so much information there you can find that will help your journey as being a parent.
Yes.
Definitely.
Serious thing is that one of the social media is a good thing and a bad thing because you can go research and find the wrong things also. So you
Right.
can be
Mm-hmm.
mindful about the content you consume because sometimes you might get a strategy out there that just wouldn't fit your child. And
Yeah,
that's
and
why the church can play a role because if they have sessions in the church, remember their church members look up to each other, they look up to the senior, they can have that support system in each other. My
Mm.
child is challenging with this area, and an expert might say, oh, try this, or talk to them. If you used to put lashes on them, maybe give timeouts, you know? So you have
Yeah.
a support system there when the church does it, and you feel safe because it's your church member, people that you know, and you form a community with.
I feel that when you go to the church as well, not a lot of parents have access to the internet,
Mm.
and they don't have access to the information. But at church, you go to church and they speak on it.
You
It's
have
not like you have to ask. You could just sit there and they would
Mm-hmm.
just speak on something that you probably were thinking the whole week about, and boom, you just went to church and you heard it right there, and then after you probably could go up and say, you were talking about this. Can we do a bit more discussion on it? So
Mm-hmm.
yes, I would say the faith-based organizations are really important, especially in the communities that need, really need that help, that support.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on this platform and talking with us. This is our Child Protection Week, and we're trying to, spread more awareness of what we know, and collaborating with our staff, and hearing how have their work been doing and what they're doing in their community. And I really want to thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to having this conversation with us. As in a closing, is there anything you would like to say before we close our discussion today? Or
For
maybe
me,
an advice that you would like to,
yeah, for me, I always encourage parents, give your children that space, listen to them, hug them, love them, kiss them, because sometimes, yes, you love them, but you've never hugged them.
Right.
And
Mm.
we as counselors, we would hear the child say, I don't think mommy loved me, or I don't think daddy loved me. And why do you say that? And they would say, I've never heard them say they love me. They've never hugged me. So they interpret that as, oh, they don't love me, which and that's not the case. But we have these children and they would think these things, and then sometimes you might get a reaction that you don't like as a parent. It's just that the child wants your attention sometimes. So hug your kids, love them, tell them you love them. Don't buy them fancy phone and fancy stuff and thinking that that
Mm.
interprets love. They want to hear you say, I love you.
yes, yes, I agree 100%. And Christine, would you like to say something in closing
Yes,
or
I'd
an
like to
advice?
say, yeah, I'd just like to say that child protection is everybody's business, right? We as adults, we brought these children into the world, and it's our responsibility to take care of them and to raise them to be human beings who can fulfill their true potential, right? So it's I know as adults we go through a whole lot ourselves, but we are responsible for protecting these children. It's the only way our society can continue to be fruitful. If we raise human beings
Mm-hmm.
who are well equipped to take on the world. And
Yeah.
it's not an embarrassment if something unfortunate has happened to a child of yours or somebody. It's never an embarrassment, right? It's not ideal to keep something closeted or within the family, and you know that this is going to affect your relationship with your child or even your child growing up, right? Psychology teaches us that growing up and experiencing negative or positive situations, it carries you through, it goes with you throughout your life, right? And let's not keep things in. Go to the right avenue to seek help and guidance so that we can all just be our true self.
Yes,
Okay.
and in the we have certain systems in place, we have the child protection office, we have the police, we have ChildLinK, where
Mm-hmm.
we offer a wide variety of support to children and families. So I encourage people to take up these opportunities, take up the service. Yes, sometimes it may seem, oh, they're dragging their feet, but it's just if you understand how the system works,
Definitely.
filing paperwork, reporting, it's not something that you can just rush through and say, to get it done. But with patience, you can get justice, and the systems are there. It's just a bit dragged out sometimes.
Yes. Right.
Mm.
Okay. Well, thank you, Christine and Samantha, for being with us today. And this conversation was really informative. And me, myself, I've learned so much from the discussion we had today. Well, until another time, we can probably have another fruitful discussion on another topic. But thank you once again for joining us today and everyone else. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Welcome.